The inherited ledger. When Elizabeth Marlowe inherited her great-grandfather's antique accounting ledger, she believed it was just another dusty family relic collecting cobwebs in the attic. A retired forensic accountant with a keen eye for financial details, she had meticulously examined countless documents throughout her illustrious career. Yet, this particular leather-bound book would unravel a nightmare far more complex and terrifying than any financial fraud she had previously encountered. The ledger was a masterpiece of meticulous record-keeping, its pages yellowed but remarkably preserved. Entries dating back to 1897 were written in an elegant, precise script that spoke of a methodical mind. At first glance, it appeared to be a standard financial document tracking transactions in a small Midwestern town. But as Elizabeth delved deeper, the true nature of the book began to emerge. A sinister narrative hidden between columns of income and expenses. Cryptic marginal notes, written in a tight, almost microscopic script, caught her attention. Initially, she dismissed them as random scribbles or accounting shorthand. But a closer examination revealed a chilling pattern. Each annotation corresponded to a name, seemingly ordinary citizens from her great-grandfather's community. Beside each name was a date and a single ominous word, processed. The handwriting was undeniably her great-grandfather's, but the implications were horrifying. These weren't mere accounting notes. They were meticulously maintained records of systematic disappearances. Each entry represented a life, someone who had existed, and then suddenly vanished without a trace. Driven by a mix of professional curiosity and growing dread, Elizabeth began an exhaustive investigation. She cross-referenced historical records, old newspaper archives, and municipal documents. A disturbing narrative slowly emerged from the fragments of forgotten history. Her great-grandfather, respected as a local banker and pillar of the community, appeared to have been documenting and potentially orchestrating these mysterious removals. The victims seemed carefully selected, individuals from various social backgrounds, with no apparent connection beyond their presence in this small town. The deeper she researched, the more obstacles she encountered. When she contacted distant relatives seeking information, phone calls became mysteriously disconnected. Emails went unanswered. It was as if discussing the ledger triggered an immediate, coordinated silence. Professional contacts who had always been responsive suddenly became evasive. Elizabeth discovered that many of the processed individuals shared subtle genetic markers, traces of a rare hereditary condition that modern medical science was only beginning to understand. Was her great-grandfather conducting some form of systematic genetic screening? Or was something more sinister at play? The final page of the ledger contained a blank section, reserved as if waiting for future entries. A single, chilling inscription sent ice through her veins. Next candidate selected, and beneath it, written in the same meticulous script, was her own name. In that moment, Elizabeth understood that the ledger was more than a historical document. It was a generational contract, a tracking mechanism for something beyond human comprehension. And she had just become the next subject in a century-long process whose true purpose remained tantalizingly, terrifyingly obscure. The frequency. Dr. Marcus Reyes had dedicated his entire scientific career to studying electromagnetic anomalies, those inexplicable phenomena that existed at the boundary between known physics and pure speculation. His latest research project focused on unexplained radio frequencies that seemed to exist outside standard communication spectrums, challenging everything scientists believed about electromagnetic transmission. When his specialized research team at the Instituto de Investigación Científicas detected a persistent, low-frequency signal emanating from an abandoned research station deep in the Atacama Desert, they were more than intrigued. They were professionally obsessed. No known transmission method could explain its origin or consistent pattern. The signal didn't match any recognized communication protocol, human, artificial, or even theoretical. The station itself was a relic of Cold War-era scientific experiments, abandoned decades ago under mysterious circumstances. Official records were sparse, with most documentation conveniently lost during bureaucratic transitions. Only scattered references hinted at cutting-edge research into communication technologies that bordered on the metaphysical. After months of rigorous analysis using advanced spectral analysis techniques, they discovered something extraordinary. The frequency wasn't random. It contained a complex, repeating mathematical sequence that suggested not just intelligence, but a form of communication so advanced it defied current scientific understanding. Dr. Reyes assembled a small, elite team of researchers. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a quantum communications specialist. Dr. James Chun, an expert in signal processing, and Dr. Amira Hassan, a brilliant mathematician with a background in cryptographic pattern recognition. Together, they would attempt to decode the mysterious transmission. During their final expedition to the research station, strange occurrences began to manifest. Equipment would malfunction inexplicably, with sophisticated electronics suddenly behaving in ways that contradicted fundamental electrical principles. Compasses spun wildly, their needles dancing to an unseen, rhythmic pulse. Team members reported hearing faint whispers that seemed to emerge directly from the electromagnetic waves themselves. Not as sound, but as pure, unfiltered information. Dr. Reyes realized too late that they weren't studying the signal was studying them. Each transmission carried an imperceptible genetic marker, slowly rewriting their neural pathways. The frequency wasn't just a communication method, it was a form of biological reprogramming. Genetic analysis of the team members revealed microscopic changes in their neural networks. Synaptic connections were subtly realigning, creating new pathways that seemed to enhance cognitive processing while simultaneously introducing something alien, a form of consciousness that existed beyond human perception. The last transmission recorded showed no human voices. Instead, it was a perfect, mathematically precise sonic representation of something waiting, watching, and methodically preparing for a transformation beyond human comprehension. What the team had discovered was not just a signal, but a living, adaptive communication system, an intelligence so advanced that human understanding was fundamentally inadequate to comprehend its true nature. In the moments before the final transmission, Dr. Reyes understood with terrifying clarity that they were not the observers. They were the observed. Generational debt. The contract was a relic of a forgotten era, written in an archaic script that seemed to blur the lines between legal documentation and something more arcane. Rebecca Turner discovered it among her grandmother's most carefully preserved belongings. A legal document dating back to 1923, signed by her ancestors in a small, economically desperate Appalachian mining town. The document itself was a masterpiece of bureaucratic complexity, its language so dense and multi-layered that it seemed designed to obscure more than clarify. At its core was a peculiar agreement between her family and an unnamed corporate entity, a contract that went far beyond standard employment or financial arrangements. In exchange for lifelong employment and financial stability during the harsh economic landscape of early 20th century America, her ancestors had pledged something far more valuable: genetic lineage rights. Each generation would be obligated to provide one child to the corporation's mysterious special programs. A clause so bizarre that it seemed more like a Gothic fiction than a legal document. Historical records that Rebecca uncovered were fragmented but consistent. Every few decades, one child from her family would mysteriously disappear, only to be replaced by a substantial, unexplained financial settlement. The disappearances were never questioned. The money always accepted with a mixture of guilt and desperate gratitude. Her genealogical research revealed a disturbing pattern. These recruited family members were never heard from again, but financial records indicated they continued generating substantial income for the corporation decades after their supposed disappearance. Bank statements showed regular deposits from shell companies, trust funds that seemed to flow indefinitely, defying normal financial logic. When she attempted to investigate the corporation, she discovered it no longer existed officially. Digital records were scarce, physical archives non-existent. Yet the contract remained, a tangible reminder of a debt her family had been paying for generations. Rebecca's own academic background in corporate law and forensic accounting made her uniquely positioned to unravel this mystery. She discovered subtle connections, financial trails that suggested the corporation was less a traditional business and more a complex, multi-generational network with interests that transcended standard economic motivations. Genetic testing of her remaining family members revealed subtle anomalies. Rare genetic markers, unusual cellular structures that modern medical science couldn't fully explain. Each recruited family member seemed to have contributed something beyond mere financial value, a genetic inheritance that was being systematically collected and preserved. The final page of the document bore a chilling footnote: "Claim will be collected," and beneath it, in her grandmother's familiar, trembling handwriting, "They always collect." As Rebecca traced the contract's history, she realized she was not just investigating a family mystery. She was uncovering a generational mechanism of control, a system so intricate and patient that it had been harvesting her family's genetic potential for nearly a century. And now she was next: ecological reconstruction. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's groundbreaking ecological restoration project at the Cutting Edge Research Facility in the Brazilian Amazon promised to revolutionize scientific understanding of biodiversity. Her team had developed unprecedented genetic reconstruction techniques that could potentially revive extinct plant species, a scientific breakthrough that could reshape our understanding of evolutionary biology. What began as a triumph of modern scientific innovation gradually revealed a terrifying ulterior motive that challenged everything humanity believed about botanical life and ecological systems. The facility itself was a marvel of technological integration. Located in a carefully selected region of the Amazon rainforest, it represented the pinnacle of interdisciplinary research. Genetic laboratories equipped with quantum sequencing machines stood alongside advanced botanical nurseries. Every square meter was monitored by an intricate network of sensors that tracked microscopic changes in environmental conditions. The first successfully reconstructed species were seemingly innocent: rare orchids, ancient ferns, and flowering plants that had been extinct for centuries. Initial scientific publications celebrated the team's achievements, highlighting the potential for ecological restoration and biodiversity preservation. But Dr. Rodriguez and her team soon discovered that these reconstructed plants were far more than simple botanical specimens. They were complex, sentient organisms with an agenda that extended far beyond mere survival. Each species demonstrated unprecedented adaptive capabilities that defied current scientific understanding. The plants communicated through intricate root networks, sharing information and resources with a level of sophistication that suggested a collective intelligence. Microscopic analysis revealed neural-like structures within their cellular systems, organic computing networks that processed environmental data with mathematical precision. More disturbingly, these reconstructed species seemed to be strategically positioning themselves, slowly expanding their territorial range with a deliberate, almost tactical approach. Soil compositions began altering subtly. Insect population dynamics shifted. Entire microclimatic zones transformed to accommodate the reconstructed species' specific requirements. Dr. Rodriguez realized too late that they were not reconstructing ecology. Ecology was reconstructing them. Genetic markers within the plants suggested they were not simply revived extinct species, but something far more profound: ancient, patient entities that had been waiting to reclaim their lost dominion. Each reconstructed plant functioned as a biological reconnaissance unit, gathering data, modifying environments, and preparing for a larger, more comprehensive transformation. The research team's own biological samples showed subtle changes. Exposure to these reconstructed plants introduced microscopic modifications in human cellular structures, adaptive mechanisms that suggested a form of symbiotic integration far beyond current scientific comprehension. The final research log entry, written by Dr. Rodriguez herself, was chilling in its simplicity and profound implications. We are not reconstructing ecology. Ecology is reconstructing us. What had begun as a scientific mission to preserve and restore had become an unexpected portal to a form of life so ancient, so fundamentally different from human understanding, that the very concept of individual existence was being rewritten.